Hey guys, welcome back to our YouTube channel Accounts Guru Cool. Learn accounting online. So today we are here to discuss about R2R, the tricky interview technical question asked by one of the interviewer. And if you are facing such kind of questions, then how you have to do the answer for that. That's all we are going to discuss here. Suppose a B2B software company sells a customer a software package that requires custom coding. The total cost of the software and implementation is 50,000 and the timeline for completion is 6 months. Terms of the contract include two milestone payments. The first payment, that's a 25,000, is due at the end of the month 3, and final payment, that's a 25,000 upon software delivery and implementation month 6. That's the questions, and the expectation is that you have to give the answer for that, how you're going to do the journal entries here related to these questions. Before going to jump into the practicality to discuss on this, if you are able to give the answer, give it at your end, write it at your end, come back and see the answer. What answer is going to be? So that's we are going to discuss here. So request viewers to be with us till the end of this to know more how you have to give the answer for this. And like, share, and subscribe our channel to get a more insight related to accounting and finance. In addition to that, if you want to connect with us for any sort of training related to accounting and finance and consultancy related to accounting and finance, either that's going to be R2R, P2P, O2C, or any software related training or any sort of consultancy, either that's going to be the virtual CFO, outsourcing the accounting, taking care of the GST compliances, TDS, ETDS return, or any payroll compliances, or you want any monthly support for your accounting and finance. Whatever you have any query, whatever you need any support from our end related to accounting and finance, you can connect with us on our email ID. Either that's accounts.gurukul@yahoo.com or finance@diudeeperllp.in. So we'll jump towards this, how you have to give the answer. So this is the questions. So there's no need to again rediscuss on that, what the question is. But now you have to give the answer. So here, first and the most important thing is that you have to go through with the questions what interviewer asked to you. This is not the race. If someone asks the questions, then immediately you have to jump on the answer and give the answer for that. No, this is your interview. You have to take a pause. You have to think, and then you have to give the answers. If someone asks some question to you, and if that question itself is incomplete, then you have to ask the counter question to interviewer. I have some query on these questions and I need the answer for that. So try to understand the one thing is that if you don't understood the question, how you are going to give the answer for that. So before going to answer, it's important for you to understand the questions. And if you have any query in that, you have to ask to interviewer. Don't be afraid to asking the questions. You have to ask because your answer is going to depend on that. Now, if you see towards this, in this question, there are certain things is pending. There are certain details is incomplete. And if you are not going to ask that, and if you don't get the clarifications on that, you have to give the answers into multiple scenarios. You have to use the answer as 1, 2, 3, knowing that you don't have the clarifications for that. So instead of trying to give the answers into multiple way, multiple options, it's better to ask the questions at upfront. So you're going to be jump on the straight way for the answers, what's expected by interviewer. So here, what's lacking in these questions? The first, we don't know when invoice is raised on customer. If you don't know, either that invoice has been raised on the very first day of the contract, or that's going to be the raise on completion of the contract, or you are going to raise the invoice based on the milestone. So that clarity is missing here. So it's going to be depend, and the treatment of the accounting concept, treatment of the journal entries, answer for your journal entry is going to depend upon that answer. If your invoice raised on the very first day of the contract, your answer is drastically going to change. If the invoicing is going to be based on the milestone, your answer is going to be the change. And if you are going to raise the invoice on software delivery and implementations, your entire answer itself is going to be the again change. So we have the three scenario, and in that both stage, your answer is going to be the change. So here, that's important. But in these questions, we are going to explain all these three scenarios. It's not going to be have the only one answer. So you are able to give the answers in a three way, and that's we are going to discuss here. The first, if you have raised invoice on the day of starting day of your contract, if your invoice is raised on very first day of the acceptance of PO, that's a purchase order from your customer. So how you are going to do with this? That's the first scenario. Second, we are going to discuss here if the invoice is going to be raised based on milestone. If your invoice is going to be due based on the milestone. And the third, upon completion of delivery or completion of contract. So you have a three scenario. Then how you're going to do the entry for that for each and every stage. That's the first, on the very first day of the acceptance of PO. So you're going to raise the invoice, and the entry is going to be that's AR account is going to debit to your revenue account is credit. That's the your first entry in terms of your first scenario. That's going to be for 50,000. That's going to be for 50,000. Now, if you raise this on the very first day of the contract, assuming this contract date is 1st Jan 24. Now, since you haven't delivered the services and you are going to deliver that, your project is going to be complete by the downline of 6 months. But you raise the invoice on the very first day. So you can't consider this entire amount as a revenue for you. So what you have to do here, you have to consider the revenue for every month. What's going to be for that month? If it's 50,000, you have to divide it by 6, and that much is going to be considered as a revenue for that month. Then what you are going to do with the remaining amount? Where you are going to take that amount? So that's going to be parked towards the deferred revenue. That's going to be the liability on you to deliver the services to your customer, build the software for your customer. So 31st Jan, you are going to take the one more entry in the books that your R2R, your revenue account is going to be debit to deferred revenue account is credit. And that's going to be this 50,000 divided by 6 into 5 for the remaining month, because when you are into the Jan, you have to book the revenue for that month. So if you see in the P&L, that's 50,000 divided by, or 50,000 less this 41,667. So in the books of account, you have the revenue for Jan, that's 8,333. So that's going to be there. And from the next month, that's going to be from the Feb 24, what you have to do, you have to start to book the revenue and you have to reduce your deferred revenue. So deferred revenue account is going to be debit to revenue account credit. So you are going to do the, you are going to reclassify it from deferred revenue to revenue. That's you are going to book the revenue in the system. So that's going to be the entry when you have the first scenario. When you are going to do for the second scenario, that's based on the milestone. So here in a first scenario, you raise the invoice in advance. You raise the invoice for which you haven't delivered the services. You raise the invoice for which you are going to deliver the services in the future. That's reason that's considered as a deferred revenue, and deferred revenue is liability for you. But in a second scenario, you are going to raise the invoice based on the milestone. So here, the first milestone is going to be complete after the 3 month. So for the first and second, either you're not going to raise the invoice or what? And if it's not, then either you are going to book only the cost in the systems or what? And if you are going to raise the only the one invoice by milestone, then what about the cost? What about the accrual concept? What about the matching principles? So considering that, what do you have to do? On a first month, you have to consider in your books of account as unbilled revenue account debit to, this is going to be the unbilled revenue assets to unbilled revenue account credit. That's going to be 50,000 divided by 6 only for that 1 month. So you are going to do the entry in the books of account for unbilled revenue. It means you deliver the services or you're working for your clients, but you haven't billed yet to your customer. So you have to consider that as unbilled revenue, and that's going to be the asset for you. On the second, this 28 Feb, again, you are going to do the same entry. That's unbilled revenue, asset account debit to unbilled revenue account credit. But on the 31st March, you raise the invoice for that, and that's based on your milestone billing. So the first milestone is going to be here. That's going to be 25,000. Now, by 31st March, you have to do the reversal of earlier unbilled revenue. Whatever you have in the books for that first 2 months, that you have to do the reversal here. That's going to be to unbilled revenue asset account credit, and that's going to be this plus this. So you have to do the reversal of this in the books of account and in the month of March. So if you see here, how much is revenue booked in the books for March? If that's 8,333. Same is going to be replicate for next quarter, considering Again, you are going to do the billing on milestone. And the third scenario is going to be upon completion of contract. In this scenario, it's going to be the work as a same like unbilled revenue. So only the change is going to be, so instead of having the first invoice on milestone, you are going to consider this for every month. That's going to be 50,000 divided by 6. So this entry is going to be continue till your 6 month for Feb, March, April, May, and June. And on the June, you are going to raise this invoice. That's going to be your AR account debit to revenue account. And on the 30th June, you have to do the reversal of your unbilled revenue, whatever you have booked for 5 months, and you have to do the reversal of that. And on the last month, if you see, if it's booked 50,000 less this 41, again 8,333 is there in your books of account. So if you can't ask the questions to your interviewers, you are not able to know what answer you have to give it. We have the three scenarios here. So considering that, it's important to know what questions is and what you have to give the answer for that. If you have any query in ask the questions, then it's important for you to ask the questions, get back to the interviewer and ask the questions and get the clarifications. And if it's not, then you are going to end up by giving the answers in multiple ways, multiple scenarios. So that's there from this. Thanks, guys, for being with us till the end of this. Request viewers to like, share, and subscribe our channel to get a more insight related to accounting and finance. If you have any questions, you can put up in the comment or you can connect with us on our email ID accounts.gurukul@yahoo.com. Thank you.